It is time to review WWE Elimination Chamber Toronto, also known as WWE Elimination Chamber 2025, whichever floats your boat, whatever you prefer. That happened on March 1st, 2025, from the aforementioned city of Toronto, Ontario, Canada, in the Rogers Centre. A show that, for all intents and purposes, was boring. Not a complete and utter disaster. Not a good show either by any stretch of the imagination. Just a show that had me completely bored. And thankfully we had a terrific angle to finish off the pay-per-view, which again is weird, but at least it's a big time angle and something that was done quite well. And then we'll get into it as soon as we're done with the business aspect of it. But yeah, look, if you wanted the cliff notes, there you go. That's what you're going to get out of this review. Stick around and hear the deets. Let's start by talking about the business aspect. WWE announced 38,493 people in attendance at the show. WrestleTix on their end. I've been following this for over the past week because it has been very interesting. WrestleTix as of yesterday, so not the final count, as I'm recording this on Sunday on the 2nd, there hasn't been any announcement. There hasn't been a final count made by WrestleTix, but they have yesterday on their Saturday post before the show, they had established 35,298 tickets distributed, which is very good. And did they make it up to 38,000? You know, I would say there's a fair chance they got really close. We know the numbers are inflated with WWE. Okay, we're not gonna sit here and pretend that the numbers aren't that the numbers are spot on correct. It's the same thing with any wrestling promotion. I'm not just pointing WWE, you know, everyone does it. It's, you know, that's the nature of the beast when it comes to pro wrestling. But it's very plausible that they got very close, you know, and the reason why, because again, I've kind of been following this all week because it's been very fascinating. As of last Sunday, let's put it that way, you know, a week before the show, WWE were still under 30,000 tickets distributed for the show. They were like at something around like 28,000, something to that effect. I don't quite remember. They were in the higher end of the 20,000s, but still under 30K, slightly under 30K. And then The Rock shows up on Raw and then announced that he's going to be there at the show. And overnight, they pushed like 3,000 tickets, right? The Rock single-handedly put the show over 30,000 people in the building. And the entire week passes and we get right into 35,000. This is all on the back of the announcement of Dwayne being there. So, I mean, you know, no one doubts that he was a draw, but in the context here where we're wondering, well, was it really 38,000? You know, were they able, again, like WrestleTix said that the tickets distributed for, as of Saturday, yesterday, were 35,298. Were they able to get an extra, 2,000, how does math work? 2,800, 2,700 tickets more on the Saturday to get us up to 38,000 to something very, very close. I mean, look, if you ask me, I don't think it's improbable because Rock is the Rock just added thousands of tickets more, got the show over the 30,000 person hump because, you know, the build to WrestleMania right up until this point has been very mid. It's been very average. And, you know, it's not just me saying that. A lot of WWE hardcore fans are expressing that same type of opinion. You're seeing it's a talking point that's been going around, especially in circles where only WWE is discussed. People are like, well, it doesn't feel quite special. Well, you bring in The Rock You get you get people fired up. He's here to mix up the show, get things unpredictable. I don't know if people expected him to wrestle. He was never announced as someone who would be there on Saturday to compete. But I would say that him just showing up was enough for this. It's The Rock. Look, whatever you may think of him right now in 2025, he is still an extremely popular figure. And WWE kind of has to be thankful to have him in their pocket. Because if they can just trot him out and he can get like 5,000 to 6,000 tickets more over just the course of 7 days, well, I mean, that's a big deal. That's something they have to be really, really happy about. So it's very interesting. And I'm excited to see how all of this is going to line up at the end once WrestleTix does the final counts and so on and so forth, and we see exactly where we are. I'm very excited to see how this goes. But look, they changed the posters, the graphics last minute for Elimination Chamber to take everyone who was on it off and just put The Rock front and center when they announced that he was going to be there, and people got upset about it. But I'm going to tell you what, there's no one else in this company that is driving 6,000 tickets in a week, 7,000 tickets in a week, getting them over a hump that I'm sure they were very, very, I'm sure that WWE really wanted to get over 30,000 tickets in the fucking Rogers Center, the former Skydome. I am convinced they would have been very, very displeased if they had stayed under 30K, especially in WrestleMania season. So yeah, put the Rock all by himself on all the posters you have. So I mean, who else can move this kind of business on such short notice in that company? Roman, maybe. And then if the point being is that if Roman did that, put Roman alone on the posters too. That's my entire point. Anyway, so that's what we had as far as the attendance goes, and the business aspect of it. Of course, Triple H announced that it was the biggest Canadian gate in the history of WWE and their operations in the Great White North. Speaking of WWE being in Canada, look, I don't want to necessarily get into the weeds on this, and my own personal feelings aside. I do have to touch on Pat McAfee's comments about how upset he was that Canadians were booing the national anthem. I saw some people say, oh, he was doing this because he was getting some heat. Okay. He repeated this a couple of times. The terrible country of Canada, said that a couple of times. He was very upset, very gotten to was Pat on that one. He was very, very upset. And I don't know what kind of heat he was trying to get. And I don't know what for. There was no heat to be getting here. Pat's a babyface commentator. Pat's not a heel commentator. If this had been Nigel McGuinness, I'd be like, oh, well, it's Nigel. But it was Pat, and, he didn't sound performative. Let's put it that way. There's a certain tone to Pat McAfee when he's doing WWE commentary where, he's part of the show and he's hyping it up and he's doing a good commentating job. But this here, there was a little edge to it. It didn't feel like it was part of the show. I don't think Michael Cole and Wade Barrett thought that this was particularly part of the show. I felt that made them quite uncomfortable. They were sort of very silent. They weren't exactly jumping at him. If this was a heat bit, you could have had Michael Cole say, "Oh, come on, Pat. Canada's a great country that has always supported WWE." No, Pat went a little rogue here. He felt a little emboldened here. to sort of let his thoughts fly. Cole had to resort to making excuses that this was surely related to the Four Nations face-off, right? That this is, that's a bit of a stretch, because, as much as you don't want to, as much as Michael Cole tried to dance around it, there is an anti-American sentiment in Canada right now. And you don't have to look far to understand why. You don't have to scratch your head much to understand why. And if Pat McAfee is a little upset because they sing the national anthem in Canada and it gets booed because people really don't care about the US or its policies or its positions or what it's trying to do to the country, I don't know what to tell him. I don't know what to tell. He's about to have a hell of a wake-up call because they're about to go on an international tour, if I'm not mistaken. And if he's part of that tour, and if they start singing national anthem, the United States, the Star Spangled Banner, when they go to, where are they going? They're going to France, they're going to Italy, Germany, right? If they start, they're going to probably get met with some hearty boos there as well. He's probably going to find out really fast that there might be a few more terrible countries out there who just don't have the time for the United States these days. And it's not even the US in and about itself that I would say Canadians don't like. We don't like the guy in charge. But again, I don't want to go down. I'm already going down a little too far because the point I really wanted to make was, this. We have Triple H coming out, at the presser saying, biggest gate in the history of Canada, and basically, proving, showing that Canadians show up and they dump all this money into the product, and WWE wants to come into this market because it's a big market. Toronto's a huge market. Typically speaking, big Canadian cities like Montreal as well are huge markets for WWE and pro wrestling, but WWE, let's stick to the plan here. And they want to come in here because they want to make money. And then they, you can't on one hand come in asking us to spend our money on your product and then us showing up and then you berating us for doing our thing because, we kind of disagree with what's going on. It's very weird mixed messaging. It's very arrogant when you think about it. Because on one hand, thank you for giving us all the money, but also you're a terrible country. Okay, great. And I know, look, it's Pat McAfee, and in the grand scheme of things, he does not matter. That's fine. It's still, I just found it very funny, curious, interesting that they would nonetheless go down this path. I think Pat took it personally. I think he got. And it's crazy that these people who are this company, biggest wrestling promotion in the world, $1 billion company, will feel so fragile in this type of situation. Kind of like the Rock video that we got, the video package of all his accomplishments, not just in pro wrestling, all of his accomplishments. I'm there chuckling. I know this happens later on in the show, but I'm laughing. I'm like, why? Who has ordered this? Why does The Rock feel like he needs a video package to make him feel good again? Like, that is some small dick energy happening right there. If I'm The Rock, I am not concerned about making videos about, putting into light all of the great accomplishments my career has had, outside the WWE. It's very weird. It feels very insecure. And Pat McAfee came off as insecure as well. I don't know. Look, I didn't watch. I'm assuming this happened on the pre-show because I didn't watch the pre-show. Watching it on Netflix, you don't have the pre-shows. And besides, I don't watch the pre-shows, generally speaking. So I don't know did they usually, because typically speaking at sporting events here, you will always get the national anthems of both countries participating, right? So let's say in the NHL, the Rangers come into play a match against the Canadiens in Montreal. Well, you're going to get the American national anthem first, the guest first, and then the Canadian national anthem second. I don't know if they did it. I don't know if they played the Canadian national anthem. I don't know if they did that, or if they did and played the Canadian national anthem first, which is against the form or whatever. Like, I don't know why they did that. Like, I don't know what they did. Excuse me. I don't know what they did. Or did they just outright play the Star Spangled Banner without, playing the national anthem of the host country, or having someone perform it? It's very weird if they it's very weird if they didn't, and I can definitely then doubly understand the boos. But look, you just have to, you're gonna have to figure this out, Pat. You're gonna have to figure this out. The people are kind of sore at the U.S. these days. That's putting it mildly, but people are kind of sore, and it's not gonna get any better anytime, and not for the next 4 years, at the very least. So let's talk about let's get into the show. Let's start with the lead. Like, the only really interesting, there is one interesting thing to talk about on this show. And it is thankfully like super interesting. Like, it's terrific, actually. The main event angle that occurred where Cody Rhodes, first of all, I thought it was really funny that they decided to end the show with this. I did not necessarily see this coming, which I think makes it all the more interesting. But I did not see this coming, and I was surprised by it. I was surprised that they were going to end the show with it, and I was like, oh, probably something big. And I was like, $10 says it's Roman. That's what I was. I was like, because I had posited the idea this week, and I know I'm not the only one, but we had talked about it on stream that Rock was probably going to, Cody was probably going to turn him down. And, I wasn't sure Rock was going to wrestle himself as opposed to find a proxy to fight for him at WrestleMania kind of thing. And then I was like, oh, it's probably Roman, because Roman is conspicuously absent in all of this right now. Roman is nowhere to be found. He's not in this mix, is what I'm trying to say. I know he's not like, oh, where did he go? What's the mystery? It's just like he's not in this mix right now. So I'm like, oh, well, maybe this is what they're gonna do. But I have a theory about Roman and what they're gonna do with him. We'll chat about that once we get there. So, I was expecting something big to happen when they ran the Elimination Chamber before doing the chat segment. I was like, oh my God. And, I was making jokes throughout the day. I was like, oh, you want to bet that they're going to end with the chat segment, like a good old Monday Night Raw. And they did. They ended it all. But I mean, here's the thing. If you're going to end your show with an angle, it has to be like a huge and a pay-per-view. It has to be something huge. It can't just be like guy runs in and chair shots another guy and stands above him with the chair in hand. It can't be that. It has to be something significant. It has to be something big. And I don't think you can get really bigger than this in WWE. This was pretty fucking big. Where Cody Rhodes basically turned down The Rock and John Cena, who was in the ring celebrating his victory in the Elimination Chamber, which bled into Cody Rhodes coming out. So that's why he didn't leave the ring. That's why John was still in the ring, because Cody's music hit while he was still in the ring. And they were playing off the fact, hey, we're going to fight each other, brother. It's going to be great, And Cena stuck around for the whole thing. And he eventually revealed himself to be the guy who sold his soul to Dwayne. I thought the angle was terrific. Like I full praise. No notes. I thought it was great. I thought it was absolutely fantastic. The hug and Cena's face turning into like, a stoic psychopath kind of glare. And then he starts beating the shit out of Cody using a Rolex watch. As I was like, wait, did they get Nux? Who has Nux? Who brought brass knuckles to the ring? It's like, no, it was a Rolex watch. And he beats him up with the watch, and they all gang up on him. And Travis Scott is there too. Who was a hip hop artist, who I am not quite familiar with outside of him showing up on wrestling shows. And when he was coming out with The Rock, because apparently like he's part of Rock's entourage, And I was when they were both coming down to the ring, and I mentioned this as I was watching. It was like, I bet The Rock is really happy that Travis Scott is with him, because Travis Scott is so much smaller than he is. So I'm sure he's like, yes, you are acceptable to hang around The Rock. So yeah, this was all basically construed as some kind of huge ruse by Dwayne, who was one step ahead of Cody Rhodes, because Cody said, I don't have a soul. I gave my soul to this ring, to these people when I started wrestling. And then Dwayne, then the plan enacted where it's like not Cody, but John was the evil guy all along. He was the bad guy. So we're probably going to get a why John why thing, and but the beatdown was terrific. Like it was terrific, all the way down to Cody Rhodes bleeding like hell. So we got the color finally on a show where everything is promoted as being super violent. We finally got some color, like in the last 6 minutes of the show, and The Rock then starts whipping him with a weight belt that read Cody's soul on it, right? Because it's not a Cody Rhodes beatdown unless he's getting whipped, unless he's getting lashed. It's not a true Cody Rhodes beatdown. I thought, it's a shocking, surprising turn. The beatdown was very good. I didn't know what Travis Scott was doing at some point. He was the most awkward guy in this thing. He was the most awkward dude in this whole situation where, at some point he was holding like Cody's head. And I was like, what is he doing? And then he gave him a couple of slaps behind the back of his head. I was like, should he be doing this? Are those working slaps? It's like, I don't, I'm sort of looking at this. I'm wondering what the hell's going on? But, I've got no notes. Like, this was really good. And by God, if this hasn't made the build to WrestleMania any more, much more interesting. Like, now I have a certain level of investment in this where I'm like, all right, cool. Now I'm really excited to see what's going to happen. Now I'm into whatever they have planned for Cody and the John Cena, which is, turning, it's the match I think a lot of people were expecting / hoping for, including myself. But not like this. Not like this. So a terrific angle is ultimately the point. I think. Okay, well, look, let's get into it. Let's get into the questions that this situation brings up, right? Because there's a lot of questions that this comes up, right? And the first of it is, was this the plan all along? Or was this what we decided to pivot to because The Rock wanted in on WrestleMania, and or everyone sort of realized that the build to WrestleMania was kind of mid, and we needed something to jumpstart it, to make it interesting, right? Was this done to spice it up, essentially? Because, like I mentioned, even outside of people like myself, there has been a lot of discussion in regards to the WWE, to the WrestleMania build being very so-so and not being necessarily inspired and not up to par. WrestleMania should feel special. So, was this the plan all along, to have John Cena do the turn? Or did Dwayne sit down with John at some point, open up a bottle of tequila for 2 hours? No, but did he sit down with John and say, listen, we got ourselves a plan here. I'm coming in, and this is the story, and this is the part that you should play in this. And you're going to turn heel. Finally, you're going to do the heel turn. After all these years of people, begging for a heel turn, for a John Cena heel turn, they're finally going to get it. And they're going to get it this year, right? And John said, okay, this sounds all right to me. This sounds good. Timing is right, whatever. Yeah, I don't know. I couldn't tell you. That's the question, right? Because you have to think that they wanted Cody and Cena in some way, but I am going to stick with this until someone absolutely demonstrably proves me wrong. I'm going to stick with the idea that The Rock came in and tore up the plans again this year. I was like, no, we got to do something. I need to be involved. Well, not necessarily tore up the plans as opposed to last year. Last year, he tore up the plans. This year, he could have just said, okay, look, we're not going to tear up the Cody Cena plan, but I want in on this, and this is how we can make it happen. The guy was angling to run the DCU stuff, right? The DC Cinematic Universe, I should say. He was angling for that to happen, but he lost all of his political capital when Black Adam didn't quite go the way that projections had hoped, that the studio had hoped. And then James Gunn sort of waddled in and said, hey, I got this. There was a power play and he lost. So, maybe he's just, this is a place where I can power play all I want. I'm Dwayne Johnson. I'm the fucking Rock. I'm a superstar here. Base level in this company, I'm a superstar. But it just so happens I'm on the fucking board of directors of the company that owns this fucking company. So I can do whatever the fuck I want. This is my playground. And no one's going to reject me because these WWE fans love me. Because I'm a legend. I'm The Rock. I'm Dwayne Johnson. And it was sitting there watching that video. I'm sorry, I'm backtracking a little bit. But watching this video and then saying, it's like, look at all these opportunities that I created for WWE superstars. And then he starts showing people with their bit parts on his fucking Young Rock show. Becky Lynch as Cyndi Lauper. It's like, oh, look at this great opportunity I created for Becky to have this bit part in one episode of Young Rock. I'm like, this man is so insecure. Like, how do you have so much clout and money and power and still manage to come across as so insecure? It's incredible. Parentheses. Let's short backtrack here. But yeah, I'm still thinking that Rock came in and laid down the law. It was like, no, like WrestleMania's got to involve me and we're going to do it this way because he has the authority to do it. And it kind of feels like, the whole Black Adam thing. Let's be perfectly honest when we talk about all of this. The whole Black Adam debacle and his you know, him failing at his power play to take over the DC cinematic universe really did end up tarnishing his image, because a lot of people started, you know, talking shit about him, you know, his behavior on set and showing up late. You started getting more and more of these things, and he is currently coming across more like, you know, a billionaire corporate officer more than a relatable guy, you know, someone that you connect to, is charismatic and seems really down to earth. The Rock doesn't seem down to earth anymore. So, you know, I think for him, there's a lot of this that is image rehabilitation, where he's trying to reestablish himself as a big top guy, even though he is. I think he doesn't like that some people don't like him as much. That's why he's flexing his Instagram numbers in promos like it's supposed to actually be super meaningful. You know, I can't remember if I mentioned this on stream, but when he started telling Cody, it's like 500 million people follow me on Instagram. I'm like, what is this? Like, it sounds like YouTuber beef. It sounds like Twitter beef. Like people going, well, you know, who are you? You just have 3,000 followers or whatever the fuck, you know, like, and that always comes off as extremely small dick energy. So, yeah, I think there's a part of this that's all, you know, to show that The Rock still has value. He's still that he's still significant for the world of entertainment on a very, very high level. I think this is all part of some kind of image rehabilitation project that he has. And WrestleMania is getting sucked into that. But anyway, the other question that this brings up, that the whole angle brings up, and this is the most curious one I find, is John Cena's last year in pro wrestling going to be spent as a heel? Like, Cena can't come out to, you know, he can't come out to that now. Like on Monday, on Raw or whenever the fuck he shows up, right? He can't come out to that, right? Like, you know, the little kids can't cheer for him. You can't have people want to buy his merch anymore. So he's gonna have a toasty, a brand new, fresh out of the oven, toasty CFO's theme. That's gonna start with him saying, "You can't see me," and then an orchestral swell of a chorus, you know, that's going to swell, oh, and then a heavy riff guitar, a heavy guitar riff, jang, 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 just like the most generic thing. Yeah, I'm recorded. I am on the record right now. John Cena cannot come out to, you know, he can't do that. He can't come out to his usual theme. He's going to come out to a brand new CFO's theme, and it's going to start out with him saying a line, you know, "You can't see me." And then, because now it can be taken as a dark thing, right? It's not just cool anymore. Now it's dark. And then the orchestral, the chorus, swell, and then guitars. I'm laying 10 fresh dollars down on that one. That's how big of a gambler I am, by the way. Those are the principal amounts of units that I'm ready to throw around. I can throw around $10 like it's nobody's business. No sweat, brother. That's how you impress people. $10, really? Anyway, the idea though is that we're having John Cena, that there's the potential for John Cena to spend his last year in pro wrestling as a heel, and this is the one thing that when I step away from the angle in a vacuum, which I really like, then I'm like, That's weird, and it's not a good idea, and I don't know who thinks, because who's going to buy tickets to go see heel John Cena at this point? Like, who's going to buy tickets to go see heel John Cena? You know what I mean? You want to celebrate. You know, it's as if they decided to turn Hiroshi Tanahashi, you know, in New Japan this year. Or if they decided to turn Sting on Darby Allin and then he joins, you know, the fucking patriarchy or whatever the fucking AEW. You're like, what the fuck is this shit? No, we want to cheer this guy in the form that we that we know him the most, in which we know him the most, which is as a hero, a superhero. Like, so many WWE fans came up, kids watching Cena being, you know, the superhero. And they, you know, they're adults now, they're grown, and they have an attachment to that. I understand the idea of the heel turn. Don't get me wrong, but I think ultimately what you want is you want the final matches, the final tour, to really be about, you know, the what John Cena has represented, and it's kind of weird. It's kind of weird, unless this doesn't last any farther than WrestleMania. What if the build to, oh God, I'm fantasy booking. What if the build to WrestleMania for John versus Cody is John realizing that he lost the Royal Rumble, and he really wants to be champion one more time, and he's not going to be able to do it, and you know, he's realizing that he's lost a step and he needs all the help he can get, and he wants everything, and just like The Rock. So when The Rock came to him with the offer, he couldn't refuse, and right, let's say we go with that. And then Cody, in this build, sort of resents John for doing it, but also is like, John, this is not who you are. You are a hero. You should never have stooped to this level, blah, 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 blah. And maintains that throughout the build, right into the match, where, you know, John wants to do underhanded tactics, but Cody catches him and says, John, you're better than this. And John has a crisis of conscience in the ring, and he can do it because he's a Hollywood actor. So in the ring, there's this crisis that John is going through, and The Rock is ringside, and he's telling John, you know, whoop him and kick him in the balls, and use the Cody Soul weight belt. But John resists and ultimately rejects The Rock, and Cody and John toss The Rock out, and then they finally, you know, have the match that we deserved, and without any chicanery or nonsense, or because or rejecting the elitist ideals of Dwayne The Rock Johnson. John Cena and Cody Rhodes have a great match, and John Cena wins the match and becomes WWE champion. We did it on his own accord, after reclaiming his soul from Dwayne Johnson. And then the rest of the year, he's a babyface again. I can't, like, there's no, I cannot see how this is going to last like an entire year. I don't see how this can be you can do the whole year of John Cena being a heel. It doesn't make sense, brother, sister. It doesn't. So we'll see how that plays out, as Alexa Bliss once told us. But I spent at 25 minutes talking about this particular angle and ramification, and that's it. Like, thankfully we had that, because that's the juice, that's the stuff, that's the meat of this pay-per-view. The rest is all kind of nothing. The rest of this show is it's a full plate and nothing. You know, it's just a serving, 2 helping servings of nothing. Let's talk about the rest of the card. But honestly, like, there's a couple of things, but look, let's just get to it. I mean, there's really nothing as interesting to break down, but the show started with the women's WWE Women's World Title. That's Rhea's title, #1 contendership elimination chamber match. And Bianca Belair won it. She defeated Alexa Bliss, Bayley, Liv Morgan, Roxanne Perez, and Naomi to win. I did like the Jade Cargill angle. I thought that was good. I thought that was a good angle. There were two good angles on this show. This one was good. I mean, the final angle was terrific. It was great. But, this one, the opener was it was good. I liked it. I thought it was effective, even though it's like, what's the point of, what's the point of cages? Like the match, everyone had entered the cage. The match was about to start. Why hadn't the referees already closed the door? Like this is the kind of stuff that you can that you can lose yourself in, because the idea of having a fucking cage is to keep people out and keep people in. So the last person, who was the last person who was introduced? Was it Naomi? I think it was Naomi. And she comes in, just fucking close the door behind her, right? Why was it still open long enough for Jade Cargill to saunter her way from backstage to the chamber and beat the piss out of Naomi? Look, this is the kind of continuity that it's not even continuity. It's the kind of shit that I don't like, and it doesn't make sense, and it defeats the purpose of these cage matches, these gimmicks, where the entire gimmick is no one can escape, no one can get in, no one look, and then it's like, no, this is not true. It's like, no, like, wasn't it last year that it was AJ Styles who got in and what was it? He kicked the guy? What did he do? Or I don't remember. It was last year, right? And AJ Styles got into the cage. And you're like, well, how the fuck did AJ Styles get into the cage? I don't remember. Did he go after Seth Rollins? I don't remember. It doesn't matter. The point is that he did get in. But notwithstanding the nonsensical aspect of it, the beatdown was great. I think this is probably the best use of Jade that they've done so far. Like, that was a tremendous beating. And then Bianca Belair, the tag team partner, she's in the pod, and they're not letting her out because them's the rules. So Jade is just beating the shit out of her. Now, out of Naomi. Now, Naomi and Liv were both in the ring when this happened. And then when Jade's music hit, Liv, the color drained from Liv's face because she was the one who injured out in kayfabe not Bianca, but Jade. And so she was like, oh, fuck, I'm in trouble now. Jade is coming in for me. But she swerved and went after Naomi. And I think the obvious theory is because Naomi stepped in to take Jade's spot in the tag team with Bianca and then became tag team champion. So I think there's going to be some resentment, some jealousy there. And that makes perfect sense to me. It's a good pro wrestling angle. I've got no issues with it. And I actually thought that this cast a shadow on the idea of Bianca winning the Elimination Chamber because it seemed like they were setting up Jade and Bianca for WrestleMania. But no, it does seem that we're sticking with. But look, it not only does it seem, it is. Bianca won the match, and she's going to get her title shot at Mania. So good for her. You know what? I really hate how, the women all had the directive to walk up to the ring, walk up to the cage, right, and then take a pause and look at it and go and look intimidated. It's like, oh, it's so overwhelming. It's such a, And then after that, they're saying, oh, this is Bayley's third time in the ring. This is Liv Morgan's sixth or whatever. And you're like, at some point, you're like, oh, this is like my third time in here. No biggie, right? But they all fucking stop. They all fucking go. And then they look at the structure and they walk inside and they give it the old look over. And it's like, oh my goodness, what did I get myself into? But it's like, oh, most of them have already been in the fucking Elimination Chamber. It's like, and it's so dopey and dorky, and nothing is organic in this company. And this is the kind of shit that really puts me off, because it's not organic. It's so contrived. It doesn't feel right, and it doesn't look right. Everyone ends up looking dumb. And here's the other thing. It's like I said, on the subject of 3, 4, 5, 6 times in the Elimination Chamber, like they being WWE market this match as this huge career-changing event that you're going to come out, you're going to go in there and there's going to be unbridled violence or whatever the fuck, and your body's never going to be the same. The same verbiage that they already used for Hell in a Cell. Well, they use it for Elimination Chamber too, and then it turns into nonsense when then they start talking about, well, this person's been in this is their 3rd appearance, their 5th appearance, and who cares? Then it doesn't matter. The concept should be, I am not doing this match because, or I'm afraid to do this match because it's so incredibly violent. But people just do it every year. Oh, this is my 3rd. And nothing really happens in these matches. Especially nothing violent, especially nothing harsh that you could be watching and going, oh shit, okay, this is pretty intense. No, there's nothing's happening in these matches. It's just just stuff going down, and you sort of wait for a spot or two, and the audience knows it because they're just waiting for someone's pod to open and to pop for finishers. That's all this is too. That's all this is, right? Like, if this was, as advertised, a violent, brutal type of match, right? Well, you'd expect people to get brutalized. You'd expect some level of blood. I know it's WWE, but nonetheless, blood and guts is not PG rated. They get in there and they beat the shit out of each other, and there's lots of people bleeding and whatnot, and that's because that's what it is. That's just what it is. This kind of stuff here, it's PG rated. It's kind of dull. There's really no excitement to the Elimination Chamber. Someone on stream last week asked me, Warren, what's your favorite Elimination Chamber match or memory? I don't remember exactly. I think it was match. I don't know. I have no attachment to this match. I have no recollection of anything about these matches that sticks with me, that makes me go, oh yeah. It's just a silly sports entertainment cage match in which nothing interesting happens. No violence, no brutality. It's just, you just get to throw people into a chain link. That's all. I'm not saying this because I'm shitting necessarily on the women. It's the same on the guys' side as well. But I'm more and more, I'm buying into this theory that WWE is starting to design its product to be to promote second screens, right? And I don't know if you've heard this theory, but it's the idea of stuff happening on TV, on whatever you're watching, but you don't have to be watching to understand what's going on, so you can be on your phone and fucking around with it, putting up tweets and Instagram posts and TikTok videos as the thing is happening. It's the idea of having a second screen. And I'm like, we've completely we are completely failing an entire generation of people who will not be able to appreciate any form of art. That's why there's so much schlock, I guess, being produced in entertainment, because they don't want you to just watch the thing, they want you to talk about the thing. And if you're watching live, well, you have to be on your phone doing live things. So if there's too much stuff happening in the ring, you're not on Blue Sky or TikTok or Twitter exchanging with other people and putting out your thoughts and using the hashtags. You know, Netflix actually asked the people who create shows and movies, the production companies, they actually said, you know, we are looking to focus on shows that create the second screen experience. So you could be watching but a Netflix show, and they're doing a lot of exposition and explaining what they're doing, the characters, and you could be sitting there going, well, I can see what you're doing. Why are you explaining all of this to me? I understand what you're saying. But in reality, they're doing that so that people can still follow what's going on, even though they're looking at their phones. So, you know, I kind of buy into that theory that a lot of this is all that there's these long swaths of moments in WWE where nothing happens, because these are your cues where this is the moment that you should be tweeting, you should be writing about your feelings and what you just saw, until we get to the spot where then it'll captivate your interest. Then you'll be captivated by the spot or the angle or the cheap shot or whatever the fuck, you know, as opposed to being invested in a match and paying attention to what's going on. I don't know. Look, as far as the women go, if we circle kind of back to that, I don't have much here. Look, the crowd was dead, you know, following that theory, but whatever, you're there live should be something else. But anyway, you're actually paying a whole lot of money to be there. I wouldn't be on my phone the entire way, but that's just me. The crowd was dead. The crowd was dead for most of this. Except for when they stretchered out Naomi, who did a stretcher job after the Jade beating. They were singing "Na na na, hey hey hey, goodbye" to her, and she's supposed to be the baby face. I guess Bianca Belair whipping the shit out of Liv with her braid was something, and she crossbodies off of a pod onto everyone, and I don't know. Alexa Bliss is doing the Sister Abigail, and people love it. I don't know. I haven't seen the Wyatt Six in forever. Like, they're never on any PLEs, pay-per-views. So I don't know what's up with them. Anyway, Bianca won after a very sloppy, dramatic exchange between her and Liv Morgan. So if you must know, 2.25 stars from me. Tiffany Stratton and Trish Stratus defeated Candice LeRae and Nia Jax. Good grief. Again, boring. I got nothing. I don't know, like, TV level match, was fine. Had no juice. Crowd didn't care. I didn't care. I don't even find people cared all that much about Trish Stratus when she came out. I think I think we're overselling just how big the Trish Stratus is in Toronto nowadays. Good. It's all right. She comes in, she has, she gets her yearly match in, and then she leaves for the rest of the year, and then whatever. It doesn't bother me. I don't have any. That's the thing, is like, I don't have true personal high level nostalgia for that particular era of WWE, in general. Yeah, I will always recognize what Trish did to break the perception of women in pro wrestling, and what, as wrestlers, but it's Trish, it's fine. It's all right. I got nothing here. I don't know what you want from me. 2.5 stars. Let's move on. Kevin Owens defeated Sami Zayn in an unsanctioned match. I was stunned when I was checking out the cage match to see that this match almost went 30 minutes. And like it felt long because it was long, but I didn't realize that WWE was like, yes, we'll have a near 30-minute singles match here on this show, which is flabbergasting to me. And look, I thought it was boring. I don't know what to tell you. There were flashes in this match where I was like, okay, now we're starting to go somewhere. Now we've got something cooking, right? You have Sammy, and there were some tremendous spots, right? You have Sammy, being pushed off of the turnbuckle through those stack tables, and I was like, oh shit, okay, that kind of rocks, right? And we're doing dragon suplexes on chairs and shit like that. And I'm like, okay, all right, but I'll tell you what took me out of this match. This desire by commentary to beat us over the head with the fact that this was a dangerous, that this match was evil and bad, and that Kevin Owens was a bad person, and that he was beating Sami Zayn within an inch of his life, and how they were all, Michael Cole was screaming at the top of his lungs, begging Kevin Owens to stop. This guy has a family. You're his friend. What are you doing, Kevin? You bastard. He drops him at some point. And all the while I'm sort of looking at this and I'm saying, this is such an average WWE no disqualification match that I don't know what Michael Cole is what is wrong with him right now. I don't know what's going on. I really don't know what's going on. And they built this, and commentary, before we really got deep into the match, we're talking about how personal it was, and all the usual stuff that you hear about Sami Zayn and Kevin Owens, and you're like, okay, yes, I've heard this fucking song and dance like a zillion times before. I know what this is about. I understand. And I don't have a problem, by the way, just to be clear, of these guys being able to reignite a feud at any given moment, right? A generational feud, one that transcends promotions, those types of barriers. I think it's great. The story of Kevin Owens, Sami Zayn, Steen, Generico, it's just one of those things. And, I don't have a problem. That's not what I have a problem with. The problem is when, we're trying to sell us this match like it's some kind of live murder that's happening right before us, when in fact everything that is happening is so perfectly, meticulously planned, which again is fine, but to the point that there's no room for any mistakes. It doesn't really feel organic. And there's no violence to it. There's no violence to the degree of Michael Cole calling Kevin Owens a bastard for doing this to. And the spot where he was calling Kevin Owens a bastard was when he was power bombing Sammy. He was using power bombs. He wasn't like slashing at his forehead with barbed wire. He wasn't, dropping him on his neck with these, insane brain busters. Hell, he wasn't even doing a stenilizer. At some point in this match, I was like, do you want to bet he breaks that out? It's not even there's nothing here that happened. And then they bring out the barbed wire when they finally do. They bring out the barbed wire, but it's just like, just another plunder thing in this match, just another object. It didn't feel special. It wasn't used in a special way. The drop toe hold on the chair, that was cool. And I was like, let's see what they do here. Are we going to get a little color? Nothing. Now, did they get some kind of edict to say, well, you can't bleed because Cody's the only guy who's going to bleed tonight. All right, fine. You can understand why they do that, but then don't set up this match, or don't hype it on that level. Because I was promised like this brutal, violent thing that was unsanctioned, and that, you know, WWE wouldn't be held responsible. And what we got was just your run-of-the-mill, humdrum WWE, no disqualifications / plunder match, where guys are they're just doing things with each other. That sounded weird phrasing, where guys are just, you know, they're just doing shit. There was nothing special about it. There was nothing that made me feel any type of visceral feelings. I was just like, all right. And I feel this match ended 3 times. Like, I feel like there was 3 finishes to this match. It went way too long. So long. And that's the thing, is like, ultimately I end up not buying it. I end up not buying into this promise of brutality. And this has been this essentially is the theme of the entire evening, where you're promised all of this brutal action and you get nothing even resembling that. You get nothing close. And here's what makes it all the more frustrating, is that this was the match I was most looking forward to, because it's Owens and Zayn. And I'm sitting there, and you know, when it's starting up, and I'm like, good God, like this show needs such a shot in the arm right now. Thank goodness for these 2 dudes in Canada on top of that. They're going to be so stoked. And if there's ever 2 guys in this company who could just like go out there and stay within the confines of the fucking WWE house style, which neuters everything good about pro wrestling, and yet come out with something meaningful and good, but it just end up being the same schlock you get with the company week in, week out. And I know WWE fans are apeshit about this match, right? They're giving, on Cage Match right now, it's at a 9 out of 10, which is preposterous. I thought there was some good ideas in this match that never really followed through. I think I think that they ended up hampering themselves and wish they could have done more, but what we ended up getting was so basic. I don't know if they were told not to outshine anyone, not steal the show. Look, I don't know. I don't know what they were told. But these guys can go above and beyond. And even at some point, you know, Michael Cole actually drops the names Kevin Steen and El Generico, talking about their past rivalry. And I'm going to tell you, you know, you can go on YouTube or any other video platform and you can search right now. You drop Steen Generico in there and you go watch any single one of the matches that is pulled up off of YouTube, for instance. And I promise you, it's going to be better, harder hitting, and more violent than what happened at Elimination Chamber. I promise you that. I'm giving it the gentleman's 3 because I think that there was a kernel of a great match in here, but they let themselves be hampered, I think. And the overselling of how dangerous this was took me out of it. This is what also preposterous. Referee gets taken out. Another referee comes in. Wait, I thought this was unsanctioned. And then eventually, WWE officials come out. You know, the Hurricane Helms and Jason Jordan and whoever the fuck else, Petey Williams. They all come out to try to get Kevin Owens to stop. And I'm like, why? Not only is what's happening not even as harsh, any harsher than what you see on a Monday night or whenever the fuck, but it's unsanctioned. So what do the officials care? You see what I like? Even on that front, it doesn't work. It doesn't connect. It's all designed to take me out of the match. So gentlemen's 3 on that, but extremely disappointing. Terribly, terribly, terribly disappointing. And then we had the number 1 contenders title for the WWE Universal title thing in the Elimination Chamber for the men, where, as we noted earlier, John Cena defeated CM Punk, Drew McIntyre, Damian Priest, Seth Rollins, and Logan Paul. I don't have much to go on. They established feuds. Looks like Drew McIntyre is going to be feuding with Damian Priest. Wow, that's a big step up for old Drew after doing the right thing for Phil Brooks. There's a big old thank you. It's very, very average. Everyone is just waiting for John Cena to come in, honestly. CM Punk kicked out of every fucking finisher he was at least once. And anyone who he kicked out of 2 attitude adjustments, right? Wasn't it 2? And the stomp. I can see Phil backstage going, brother, you're taking my spot away from WrestleMania. I'm not in the main event again. And you're taking me away and you're having me fight Seth Rollins again. Brother, I'm kicking out of finishers tonight. You're going to give me that. I'm sorry, but it's really fucking funny. It's really funny that CM Punk is fighting Seth Rollins again. I'm sorry, but it is funny. And he's not getting a main event. And you know what? He telegraphed the finish to this. CM Punk had some kind of interview like the day before or whatever the fuck, or, in the lead up to Elimination Chamber. And he flat out said, it was because someone asked him about main eventing WrestleMania. And he just flat out said, I've sort of made peace with that. Que sera, sera. It's not up to me anymore. If it happens, it happens, and that'll be great. And I'm like, oh, he's losing, is he? He's losing on Saturday, isn't he? He telegraphed the fucking finish with that interview. And look, we know Phil Brooks here. There is no way he's so nonchalant about it. There's no way he's just going, oh, well, going on with his day. And no. Especially since somehow someone reached out to Dave Meltzer this week to say some people backstage are upset that the people who were on the elimination poster were taken off to be replaced by Dwayne Johnson all by himself. All this stuff happening and it all sort of sounds very Phil-like. I can't expect that he's happy with all of this. I think it's naive to think that he's really okay with all of this. He's back fighting Seth Rollins again, which is hilarious, which is really, really funny. And I don't think Seth is happy about it either. That's the thing. It's like, I don't think either of these guys are like, sure, let's have a WrestleMania fight. Oh, well, but it's okay because CM Punk, like you said, he's home. This is where he belongs. This is where he should be. Oh, isn't that nice? Isn't that nice? Yeah, I don't know. I don't know for the rest. Logan Paul is, I don't know. He just wants to get the heat and whatever. And all right, Damian Priest, he's with these people here, and you see he doesn't belong. He doesn't belong in the same category as Seth and Drew and Phil. He just doesn't. It's fine. There's roles for him in the company. Being one of the top guys is not what it is, and it feels like a demotion for Drew McIntyre. And Seth is Seth, and it's whatever. It's whatever. All of this is whatever. It all led to the really terrific angle Ultimately, that's what matters. But there you go. That's Elimination Chamber, a boring show, a truly boring, uninspired show that only Paul Levesque is able to put on as consistently as he does. That truly is his great forte. And they can do all the stories that they want, but for wrestling fans, when it matters, it just doesn't deliver. It's just not there. So yeah, Elimination Chamber Toronto 2025. If you haven't seen it, don't. Or, watch, you'll be able to watch the terrific angle, I'm sure, on the WWE YouTube channel. And that's ultimately it. You're fine. You're good.